Welcome to Picks with the Professor, the show where a real statistics professor and his friends give you sports betting tips. I'm your host, Professor Sides, and in this episode of Major League Baseball picks on the prices that make for good bets using a mathematical model I've built called Sideline for games scheduled to be played on Wednesday, July 19th, 2023. In case you're new here, check out the webpage on the banner. It's www.pickswiththeprofessor.com/new for some explanations and community rules. Remember, if you're interested in projections and picks for every single game, sign up on Dub Club. That link's in the show description. Cost is under $1 per day. You will get money line, run line, first five totals, weather information, all sorts of goodies, and of course, exclusive access to our Discord chat. Remember that sports are unpredictable, so the discussion on this show projects a typical game and does not try to forecast it to a T, as that'd be a foolish and impossible goal. There are no right sides or wrong sides or other prices where any side should be played. Whether using my model or someone else's, this sort of probabilistic thinking is key to growing your bankroll instead of draining it. There will be ups and downs, but with this sort of thinking, it will balance out in the long run. It's just hard to foresee before it happens. In other words, please understand that good and bad variance will occur. So while the long-run profitability has been proven, winning every single day is an impossible reality for any gambler. Jake, you've got electricity today, so I'm glad to have you back here. Apparently, you are not able to restore power and internet to people despite all of your other abilities that you have.
The fact that you said there's other abilities is a lie. I have one ability, and that is to not restore power.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's how it goes. Thankfully, yesterday bounced back with a small profitable day after whatever the heck that happened Monday was. And I talked about it yesterday in the show. For whatever reason, Mondays have just been terrible, which is sad because no one likes Mondays anyway. It's the worst part about yesterday, I think, was that there were no day games, and so it's like you have that bad taste in your mouth all day. So hopefully, hopefully, you had a good day last night. Again, we profited a little bit. That way, it's better heading into the next day. If nothing else, at least we have day games today to get right back to it, which is always fun. Jake, we're always talking about there should be day games every day in baseball, college basketball as well, with so many games. Why are there not? Why is someone not taking advantage of this? Is still beyond us, of course. I feel like it's our soapbox, our long running thing, and when they let us rule the world one day, I guess we'll solve this problem, right?
Yep. It's on my list. It's at the top of the list.
There you go. All right. Well, before we get to today's slate, some quick reminders. Please hit that like button if you're on YouTube. Also, if you aren't yet, please consider subscribing or following. It's free. If you turn on notifications, you won't miss any of the MLB, college basketball, college football, or coming this fall, NFL content that this channel provides. You can see how I scale my picks in the Google Sheet with the season results. That link's in the show description. But as always, with scaling in with picks, take what you like and leave the rest. Going to start us off here with one of those day games, Red Sox at the A's. Weather-wise in Oakland, pretty normal day. Temperature-wise, wind will be blowing out stronger than usual. Day game that kind of happens. The wind dies down at night. It's pretty standard there in the Bay Area. Going to be a slight boost to runs. Yesterday, we lost the pick on the Red Sox, but we did get the under. Took the first five under, whether you had first five or game. It didn't matter. There weren't many runs scored at night. There's fewer runs in the day. There's more runs. I'm not going to touch the total today. Model projects 8.8. I'm seeing 8.5. I think it's pretty well priced. Again, you do see more runs during the day there because of the wind, and the ball just carries better without some of that, whatever happens on the coast of California that suppresses runs. I'm not a meteorologist, so I'm staying away from the total, but I am going to take the Red Sox -1. I think it's interesting. We just talked yesterday about the Phillies. Taking them -1, and of course they did win by 1, so it's definitely another I think interesting discussion point, the -1.5 or the money line. This price we locked in last night at -169, locked in again a bet on the money line to win a certain amount, and then put that exact amount on the run line that kind of creates the -1 market. The prices jumped this morning by another dime or so, so hopefully you got this in already at a better price. It's a B grade now. I think it's probably more of a C grade at the current prices, but again, just check, shop around, try to find the best price. If you're playing money line, B grade threshold is -216. If you're playing run line, that's -127. The A's got it done last night in what was a weird game, but I'm not a huge fan of Ken Waldachuk. .666 ERA. Underlying metrics say it should be a little bit higher. Brian Bayo's been pretty good this season after a little bit of a bouncy start, has been really dominant. I think there's a massive mismatch here across the board. The A's are going to win some ball games because Jared and I are always talking about that. They did win one last night, but I think this one is a good price to jump on the Red Sox in a bounce back afternoon spot. Jake, tell us your thoughts on this game and tell us your thoughts about the run line money line split.
As far as the game, I just don't think the A's have the ability in this one. Bayo is a very good pitcher. Waldichuk is a very bad pitcher. Offense, I would lean more all the way with Boston too. I just don't think the A's have it in this one. They got their one win for this series. I'm happy for them. The rest is the Red Sox. But as far as the money line, red line split, I like a bigger reward. So I typically go more run line on things like this. But with two teams that are at this kind of level, I'll split it a little bit. But if it was a bigger mismatch up there, I would probably go more run line. But because I want to get a little bit more payout with my risk.
Yeah, and of course, caveat here I have to mention Waldichuk might not get the start. The A's have done a lot of openers. I can't quite keep it straight in my brain which guys. I've heard that he started 12 games, so he hasn't had an opener a ton. But I feel like the A's have almost opened for everybody except for Blackburn. I think is kind of the only guy that hasn't had an opener at some point for them, and I could be wrong on that. So just keep that in mind if you're betting pitcher dependent. That Waldichuk might have an opener. I don't really know. So this is one where you definitely just want to go action on and not care on that side of it. Of course, you do want to make sure Bayo goes for the Red Sox, but unless there's an injury or he gets sick or something, he'll go. I do think it's interesting, that discussion about the run line. I figured you would be more of a run line guy, just knowing you. I figure Cousin Jared's, I don't know. Cousin Jared's such a value guy. Really, I'm curious to hear his answer. We'll have him on, I think, hopefully here the next 2 days, and we can kind of get his take on it. But, the biggest thing in my mind about this discussion on moneyline, run line is two things. Number one, I mentioned it yesterday. A lot of it's personal preference. Be consistent. It's kind of like if you're playing blackjack, and you've got 16 on a 10, right? Just kind of be consistent, right? It's kind of pretty 50-50. It's just, you're going to make yourself go. It's not about expected value. If you switch up your strategy, it's about your sanity, right? And that's part of this about this business, is keeping your sanity. Just kind of be consistent in what you do, how you have a system. That's kind of why I'm choosing to split it here between the two and making this -1 market. Again, if you're with me on Discord and you have some more questions about exactly how to do this, I can kind of outline that more there. But the other thing I'll just have to mention is, of course, shopping around, getting good price. That's why we have the model to kind of help us out there as to where the value lies. I think someone made a comment about this yesterday on the show. The run line model takes into account both the road team likelihood of covering the run line, whether it's plus or -1.5. Road teams are more likely to cover that. And it takes into account the total. When you have a higher total, it's easier to win by more runs. We talk about that. At lower total, it's less likely. The model takes that into account. And so when you get those probabilities and those prices needed for A and B grades on the run line, just be sensitive to that, thinking about that. The model's taking that into account and kind of helping us, guide us to what the stronger edges are as you're shopping around and navigating these waters. I think it's it can be kind of a fun exercise trying to figure this out, but it can be maddening while you're watching the games. Because I think we were all watching that Phillies game last night, and depending on what you had, you were either happy or sad, or like me at the -1, I was like, okay, like whatever. And it can kind of be maddening, right? So at some point, you just got to do whatever you can do, I think, to keep your sanity, right? I think, Jake, and that's, I think that the biggest thing I would tell people. I don't know if you have any last discussion points to add about this moneyline run line split.
No, just stay consistent in your process. Don't, like me, I look for bigger reward, so that's how I go. But don't just switch up your process and start doing that, because that will drive you nuts.
Yes, exactly. I think the consistency is helpful, again, just for that mental sanity, which is part of this. Mental sanity, bankroll management. These are the things that matter more than people want to talk about. It's not a sexy topic, but they are things to keep in mind. Hopefully, if you're new at this, you will learn it the easy way or the hard way. If you've been doing this for a while, you probably already know that. I'm probably preaching to the choir. 7:10 p.m. Eastern, Giants and Reds, a series we talked a lot about. a fun game last night. My goodness, that game, one of many in baseball that got absolutely drunk. Last night, I think we set a record, was most runs scored all season long on a single day. It was also the first time, I believe, since the 1800s where there were 4 games where both teams scored double-digit runs. That happened in the 1800s, and then it didn't happen again in the entire 1900s. That's pretty wild. This was one of those crazy games. Jake, usually I get the picks out at night here. You kind of have a chance to react to them. Last night I was a little bit later on my duty. I apologize for that. And so I had to specifically pick this game to talk about because I like both things. Again, just as I did last night, kind of reluctantly did take that over. That was an easy hit. Took the Giants. That was a a shaky hit. I like both of the same things this time. So I decided this was a good game to talk about because then I can ask you which one you like more. Total in this one projects to be 11.4, wind blowing mostly across, some chance of showers for a slight delay. I don't think it's a huge issue. It doesn't look like it's going to be a massive delay, at least as of right now. Slightly on the warm side to start, kind of average as we finish. If there's any rain, of course, it'll be pretty more average as the night goes along. But of course, a very hitter-friendly ballpark. 2 pitchers that are very average in Ross Stripling and Graham Ashcraft. Ashcraft looked good here. His last start, maybe last couple starts after coming off the IL after a really rough start to the season. But in that park against a good Giants offense, he's still probably going to have a hard time. Ross Stripling for the Giants, much better than that 6.11 ERA, but this kind of is going to turn into a bullpen game. The Giants usually have a really quick hook with him. And of course, I just think there's going to be a game like last night, a lot of runs. Biggest thing here is the price. I like the Giants here at minus 113. Locked that in as an A grade. It's minus 110 right now. So in that ballpark here, minus 114 or better gets that A grade designation. According to Sideline, Giants win this 57% of the time. Jake, which one do you like more, the Giants or the over 10.5, or do you like them both?
I do like them both, but I'm more of a money line guy here. Me and totals have not gone along well this year, so I mean I think there'll be a lot of runs, but I mean last time I said that the Rangers and the Rays put up 4,
Oh yeah.
so but,
I think that
I mean,
that game got to 5. Don't sell that short. All right, it did get to 5.
sorry, my bad. But yeah, like these offenses with going against these pitchers, it's going to be should be a lot of runs, but I just trust the Giants. They just seem to pull magic out everywhere. Doesn't matter. They've been a lot of fun to me, a lot of fun for me betting on them this year. I've become my second favorite team after the Braves because I'm like, hey, I'm making a lot of money on these Giants. I'm gonna keep doing it. I don't know why they keep getting not they're not valued. I know they don't have like a lot of names and they're pitching like today. Stripling's not a great name for you, but he's done all right this year. He's better than his ERA, and that bullpen is fairly good. I don't totally understand, so I'm going to keep riding that wave though.
We've been backing the Giants a lot lately, and it's mostly worked out really well for us. I'm like you. I don't know why the value isn't there. It does remind me of a couple of years ago. I think it was 2021 when the Giants had that good season. The same thing happened. We kind of got on them early. The Giants are kind of this year's Mariners, it seems like. Where last year we just kind of rode the Mariners and we're like, hey, no one's paying attention to how good this team is the back half of the season. And that's how the Giants are looking, where we kind of were a little bit on off, early on. And then about the same time the Mariners started turning it on last year in that June range, we kind of just been mostly back in the Giants, and it's mostly gone well. Patrick Bailey, I think, has been a huge part of that behind the dish. A rookie catcher who's come up. Really reminding me again of what I always talk about this, what Buster Posey did for this Giants team a couple years ago, what Rutschman's done for the Orioles, is just whatever he's doing calling that game has just helped slightly boost the pitching staff enough to really give them an edge that the model's seeing and the market isn't for whatever reason. So I'm like you, the Giants have become a real favorite of mine because we've been backing them a lot and they've been winning for us. Again, we are going to have, I think, more of a bullpen game today. And that is why I am on Ross Stripling under 14.5 outs. You can see here on Outlier, he has only made 8 starts this season. Notice here was an IL stint. Since he's come off the IL, he is building up. I think this number is probably set at 14.5 because he's made it through 5 before, and people are looking at this buildup thinking he's going to go deeper. But what I like about this number one plus odds, plus 120 on this one, I think this is probably closer to 50-50 on hitting. Of course, it's hit 5 out of 8 times. I'm not really sure exactly what to make of a couple of these starts are in here. So that's not really the biggest factor in my mind. The biggest factor is I've watched this Giants team a lot, and they manage with a very quick hook. And second, in this park, you might have weather issues, which, of course, if anything happens there, then they just pull them right there. I don't think you will, but I think you've got a very hitter-friendly ballpark. I expect a lot of runs, and they manage with such a quick hook. He's probably going to get pulled in the 4th inning, if I had to guess, because I've just seen them pull both Alex Wood and Ross Stripling. They let Logan Webb go, which is good to eat some innings up. But when you get some of these weaker pitchers for them, these guys who've been more swing guys and get up to higher pitch counts, they just pull them super fast. So your player prop of the day, Ross Stripling under 14.5 outs. Jake, you talk about the value. You like the payout plus 120. You got to be real excited about that.
Oh yeah, no, I love this. I love like you're right. The Giants have a quick hook on him, and that Reds offense can get going out of the like. It just seems that they could really take off on somebody. And so with a quick hook, I think this sends a really good chance of hitting.
And I think, I generally don't like to make a prop pick against the pick, and we're picking the Giants here. But in this case, I don't think that's a problem. The Giants have been doing this with him and treating it almost like a bullpen game. That bullpen, it now rates almost a full standard deviation better than league average. It's worked really well for him. I think someone's going to give up some runs. You kind of have that when you go bigger bullpen games. Someone's going to give it up here, but they should be able to get it right back because, again, it should be a high-scoring game. It's worked for the Giants as bullpen-type situation. I don't really see why it wouldn't work tonight. So this doesn't really contradict my opinion because this isn't a situation where we need the starter to get outs for the side to win. It's not like where we had Eovaldi last night, or again, talking about a guy like Logan Webb. If you're going Logan Webb under, you're kind of fading the Giants, right? It's kind of a similar play. Or, in Eovaldi, we had the over on him. We took the Rangers. It was kind of a similar play that worked out well for us and both hit, right? But this, even though we're going opposite directions, this isn't really fading the Giants, but taking us under because they just kind of roll with these bullpen games. They've utilized it probably more than anyone else in baseball this year, at least by design, as opposed to some teams like the Dodgers have been doing it by accident because all the injuries. The Giants want to do this. They want to utilize that bullpen. It's worked for them, and I don't see why today would be any different. Jake, any last thoughts here on the Giants, the Reds, or this prop pick?
No, but I would advise against parlaying all 3 of these at all because you're kind of banking on different things here. So I wouldn't tie these 3 together.
Too greedy at that point if you tie them together.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, and that's, again, another personal thing, right? How you do with parlays and tying all that stuff together. I personally just do everything straight bets, but again, to each their own on that one. Remember that you can sign up for Outlier and see all of this information, get all their plus expected value plays, all their information. They integrate seamlessly with your favorite domestic sportsbook. So check them out. If you haven't yet, you can get a free trial if you sign up at Outlier.bet/professor. That link's also in the show description. And if you are not already playing daily fantasy, you could sign up with Thrive. They are another official partner of Picks with the Professor. You can pick an entire lineup of players and enter a contest, or just pick a couple of props and parlay them together. New users that use the promo code SIDES or that sign up link in the show description get a 100% instant first deposit match up to $250. So sign up today to take advantage of some free money. One last game for you here, 8:05 p.m. Eastern. Nats at the Cubs. The Cubs really struggled this weekend. And then last night, it really playing the Nationals solves all ills, I guess. The Cubs struggling early and then putting up like 17 runs in the last 5 innings of that game or whatever it was. That's the Nats for you, right? We faded the Nats a lot this year. You probably know that's what we're going again. Trevor Williams and Kyle Hendricks. Caution on Kyle Hendricks. Don't think he's as good as that 357 ERA. Underlying metrics suggest it should be more in the mid fours, but the model still thinks he's better than Trevor Williams, who projects more in the upper fours. So the Cubs have a slight starting pitcher advantage. I think they got the bullpen advantage as well. You saw that last night. The Cubs bullpen, not great, probably around league average, but just more quality arms, still more respectable arms than the Nats. Again, you saw last night. Cubs offense, probably a little bit better, at least as of now. Who knows when trades are coming, right? So this is one of those things where this last handful of days here in July, we got to be a little cautious betting some of these too early because you never know who's going to get traded when. Of course, the biggest trade chip for the Cubs, probably Stroman. So less likely to lose a bunch of offensive pieces all in one day. But of course, the Nats might trade off some of their guys too. So in this matchup, you kind of got it both ways. Model says the Cubs win this 64% of the time. We're going to back them here at minus 151. Lock this in last night as a B grade. After updating the model this morning, this would be an A grade price. A grade price is minus 153 or better. Current price also minus 153. So right at that threshold, locked in last night as a B plus. Right now it would be an A minus. Making a cut point there is really an arbitrary decision. It's a strong pick. Again, the B picks are what the old A minus picks would have been. So a pretty strong pick here on the Cubs, in my opinion. Going to pass on the total. Projection is 9.6. I would need to go over a number like 8 or under a number like 11. I don't see either one of those happening right now. Should be a pretty normal day in Wrigley. Not going to be too affected by the weather. So no big weather edge there. Jake, Cubs laid a little bit of juice here, but against a team like the Nats, probably not the biggest concern. Would you like to stick money line here, or would you gamble at all with the run line with the home team? What are your thoughts here?
I think I would go run line because it's more of fading the Nationals than it is trusting the Cubs. I just don't think the Nationals have the offense. Like I know Hendricks' ERA is a little misleading, but I don't think it will be against the Nationals because they don't have the bats to punish him enough. So I think he's a good enough pitcher. He can get through that lineup, and so and the Cubs can. I mean, Bellinger's been playing out of his mind. It feels like the last week and a half, and they've got a really good lineup. They can really put up runs, and then that also just disappears at times. But I'm going to put faith in them that they show up tonight.
And I think you make a great point. I try to say this a lot. You kind of did it for me there. When you have a guy like Hendricks who has overperformed, you look at the ERA and you say it's a little bit misleading. That can be true, and we still have to consider the opponent that he's still probably likely to have a good start tonight against the Nats, right? That's more of a if he was that good, I'd be thinking more about like a shutout for the Nats. Whereas here, I think the Nats will put up a couple runs, but it's one of those where I don't think he's going to completely dominate, but he still should have a good start. More of the good, not great, I think, because even though he projects more around the league average, this Nats offense isn't league average, so he still has the advantage. The Cubs bullpen still has the advantage, and you're kind of right. At some point, you're fading the Nats a little bit here. Current run line price on this is plus 125. Model says you need exactly plus 125 for that A grade. So it's the exact same situation. The value right now is exactly right at the threshold for an A grade on the money line in the run line. So again, it goes back to personal preference. Do you want to split it? My rule, we talked about this earlier, right? My rule has been I'm going to go to the -1 if the run line is still minus odds. If the run line is plus odds, I'm going to go money line. Why did I make that rule? I don't know. I just wanted something consistent. Again, it's kind of personal preference. Stay consistent with what you want to do. But if you want to split this one and play the -1, or if you want to get a little more, go for the bigger payout like Jake, like you're talking about with the run line, I think any of that is fine and acceptable. I just kind of have my system for my sanity, my rules, how I want to play it. But again, however you want to play it between those, I think it's all a good situation to back the Cubs on any of those markets. In the long run, I think it's going to be the same. It's like the Phillies last night. Something's going to happen, and one of those is going to be the better pick. Last night, Phillies money line happened to be the better pick. You don't know what's going to happen, right? It's like we're always talking about. We're going to lose bets. If you are looking for a show where they're going to tell you, here's how you never lose bets, then you get what you deserve at that point, because that's foolish, right? We are going to lose bets. We all know this. And so because we're going to lose, we have to think about these long-term ideas. And in the long run, it's kind of a wash here. So just kind of whatever makes sense for you. I'm going money line on this one. Went with a -1 on the Red Sox. hopefully they all win easily and we just coast. But we know we're going to lose some of them, unfortunately. Jake, I think you're probably still looking for that how to be perfect at gambling, but I feel like I think we're just coming up short and figuring that out, right?
Yeah, I would love to be perfect because then I could quit my job. That would be nice, wouldn't it?
It would be right. Um, all right. Any last thoughts on Nats Cubs before we wrap up?
No, I'm curious to see what the Nats do at the trade deadline.
I think I'm curious about a lot of teams here. We haven't really had much activity trade wise yet, and we usually see a little bit more. I think earlier on, there's usually a team or two that gets a little. All the trades that have happened have been like basically nothing trades, real minor, guys that just real under the radar. Usually, you see one or two moves more in that late June, early July, where a team says they want to be aggressive. This year, it seems like we're going to push. Well, like there's a lot of teams that a lot of guys, it's not just about Ohtani, right? Of course, Ohtani's the big question mark that is he going to get moved? And of course, my dream would be to move him to the NL and then him somehow like win the MVP in the AL and the NL. That would be like just incredible. But, aside from Ohtani, there's big names he moved. Who knows what will happen? It should be interesting to watch. Jake, any parting words for our viewer for this Wednesday full day of baseball? Should be a lot of fun. I'll give you the last word here.
No, I'm just excited that we got a couple day baseball games. So it keeps the workday moving. So you got something to worry about, like look at and kind of distract yourself a little bit.
Exactly. There are day games before that Red Sox game. If you're interested in that, again, sign up on Dub Club. Cost under $1 per day. That link is in the show description. Otherwise, so thank you for tuning into this episode of Picks with the Professor. Don't forget to subscribe so you can ensure all the sports betting content provided on this channel is dropped right into your feed. I'll be back again tomorrow with more sports betting tips. But until then, as always, best of luck. And remember, you can eat your betting money, but please don't bet your eating money.